Hi, everyone. Welcome back to As Strong as You Think. It's good to be back after the holidays, and I hope everyone had a good holiday season and were able to connect with some loved ones and enjoy some time and space. I know that the holidays aren't a great time for everybody, but I hope that you were able to make it a good space for you. Anyway, today, I want to talk about our thoughts. And over the holidays, I watched one of the Spider-Man movies with my boys, and there was a villain called Mysterio. And when he showed up the first few times in the movie, we didn't really know who he was. There was just this, like, I guess you could say, like this water type monster, this fire monster, just like kind of swirling around. Getting in all the places, hard to be contained, not a total solid figure, right? And it was just kind of crazy. So this reminded me of how sometimes we have our thoughts. They kind of go just swirling around crazy. We don't always see the form to them. And we can tell this is happening a lot of times because we start to feel kind of irritated, maybe nervous, worried, a little upset, anxious. I think all of these types of emotions kind of signal us that there's some thoughts going on. And sometimes when we have those emotions, we don't even know all the time what is causing it. Like we might ask and it's like, I don't know, but, and it doesn't almost feel important to us. Sometimes it's just nagging enough that we can just be like, I have other things to do. So we kind of don't pay attention to it. But then there's just this in the background kind of bugging us a lot. And it starts to kind of wear on us too. We end up being kind of irritated with others. Maybe we snap at people and we say, and I don't know why. And our emotions are caused by our thoughts, or if they aren't caused, they're at least fueled by thoughts, okay? That they will keep going because of the thoughts we're thinking. We kind of give fuel to our emotions with the things that we're thinking and believing. So to kind of pull off the framework of the Mysterio thoughts, I'm going to call them the Mysterio thoughts. What we need to do is just kind of figure out what's going on underneath, what's going on in our brains that's fueling these emotions that we don't really care to have. And a good way to do that is a lot of times it's just, we can talk to somebody that we trust. So someone asks how we're doing. We're like, I'm doing pretty good, but I just feel kind of irritated and I'm not sure why. And you can kind of just talk about it. A lot of times something will come out and you realize, huh. Or something that I like to do is they call it a thought download, but you can just sit there for a minute or two and just start writing whatever's going on in your mind. And you start to find out, I was thinking that. And then you can start to ask yourself, does that have to be true? Does that make sense? I know that something that's happened to me before is I can be in a social situation and I can start to feel uncomfortable and maybe a little irritated or just nervous and anxious. And I think, well, what's the problem? I know these people, or even if I don't, but just I'm thinking, I didn't think I had a problem going here, but yet I just feel on edge and something's not right. And as I start to slow things down and think about what's going on in my brain. Sometimes I have to wait till I go home. But I think about it and I think, I'm thinking that people don't like me. And so I think, well, does that make sense? Why am I thinking they don't like me? And I start to kind of question it, and I look back and I think, well, they invited me. They were nice to me. And so then I'm getting some evidence that maybe this thought doesn't make sense. And sometimes it's just that quickly, and I can be like, I don't know why I was thinking that. I guess I was a little bit nervous, but it doesn't make sense. So that's fine. But sometimes we uncover, the Mysterio thought that I'm not sure how much I like me, right? And so I'm projecting that onto somebody else. And I start thinking these things that I don't like about me. And that's okay that I have to do some work on that. But when I realize it's coming from me, and I can do that work and kind of separate that out, it tends to make that next time that I'm with people go a little bit easier, because now I have this awareness that's not just swirling around all over the place. I can say, oh, that starts to come up again. And I'm like, I'm thinking that they don't like me, but I think it's more about how I'm feeling about me. And I can work on that later. And sometimes that, just knowing that, it doesn't take the problem away, but it puts it into perspective, and knowing that this is not a problem with them. And I don't have to include that in here right now. And it takes some of that heaviness and some of that irritation off, to where I'm able to interact more fully and more me. And there's all sorts of thoughts that can do that, but we find out when we notice we're feeling a certain way, that it often happens that there's just these thoughts running loose in our brain, and they're actually not maybe as bad as we thought, or they just don't make sense. So when you're feeling irritated and upset, or any of those things, I would just challenge you to take a moment and just get what you're thinking out, and get some awareness on that, and question it. See, does that make sense? Right? And I think you'll find that it's not as bad as it kind of feels when it's running loose without that awareness. So just take some time this week when you're feeling that way. Find some paper, just a few minutes of quiet time, write it down. Find someone that you trust that you can talk it out with, because hearing it or seeing it on paper can be powerful. It kind of helps you see that. Sometimes, like looking at it, like if I wrote it down, I think they don't like me, I think, I'm not sure that that's true, when I see it there on paper. Or sometimes just hearing it come out of your mouth, it works the same way than in your brain, because in your brain it just kind of gets put in with all those thoughts that are swirling around it, and it doesn't have the awareness to separate it out like that. And so having like a different sense, using like your eyes to see it, or your hands to write it, or your mouth saying it. So your mouth saying it and your ears are hearing it. That kind of helps separate it out from all of that, to see if it makes sense and if it has to be true. So thank you for joining me. I just want to challenge you to work on that this week, and we'll talk to you next time at Strong as You Think. Bye.